Hey, everybody, this is Marcia Reiner with Profit with a Plan podcast. I'm really excited for my guest today. We're going to have Dr. Noah St. John on. He's going to help us get those habits that can make you succeed faster, better, stronger, and you're going to get it right here on Profit with a Plan podcast. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? If you're like most of us business owners, increasing your profitability is always on your mind, and you're probably looking forward to ways to grow your revenue as well as growing your company. Well, you found a podcast that helps us share ideas to help you do just that. I'm Marcia Reiner, known as the Profit Booster and a business growth strategist. I've been helping tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability, guide your growth, and plans for a future exit. Because building a highly profitable business and a sale-ready business creates a win-win scenario. That's more money now and a windfall when it's time to let go. All right, so one thing before we get started on today's show, I have a really powerful training called the 30-Day Profit Booster. And this is where you can get a 45% net profit boost in just 30 days, simply by following a 3-step method that doesn't require you chasing more customers. This quick and easy profit boosting strategy can be done without spending more money on marketing, hiring additional staff, or working longer hours. Go check it out at www.30dayprofitbooster.com for more information. All right. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat today, but I have an exciting guest on, a very famous, world-renowned guest on today, Dr. Noah St. John. He is known as the Father of Affirmations and the mental health coach to the stars. He has authored, get this, 24 books, including his new book, The 7-Figure Expert, Your Ultimate Guide to Life of More Impact, Influence, and Financial Freedom. And he has been working with celebrities and 8-figure company CEOs and athletes. Noah is famous for helping people get more in just 12 weeks than I have made in the last 12 months, and while winning their lives back. Welcome, Dr. Noah St. John, to Profit with a Plan podcast. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Thank you, Marcia. Great to be here with you.
Thank you. Yes, I do definitely have that frog in my throat. I guess I've been didn't get enough coffee going this morning, but yeah, wow. So, I always start these things off with because we all get into our jam and into the place that we work into, but we don't always know how we got there. So if you could spend just a few minutes and tell me how you got into being this kind of mindset guru that helps us succeed and become so much more than we ever thought we could be.
Well, I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood, and I know that's a total cliche, but it's totally true. I grew up in this little town called Kennebunkport, Maine, which happens to be one of the wealthiest communities in New England. But my family was dirt poor. And I mean that literally, because we lived at the bottom of a dirt road in a drafty, unfinished house that my parents ended up losing to foreclosure when I was just 15 years old. So from a very young age, I was painfully exposed to the gap, the chasm between the haves and the have-nots. The haves was everyone else in the community. The have-nots was my family. Now, you hear these speakers all the time, motivational speakers or whatever, and they'll get on stage, they'll say something like, well, we were poor, but we were happy. We didn't know we were poor. Well, in my family, we freaking knew we were poor because my mother, bless her heart, reminded us every day that we were poor and miserable. So no, it wasn't happy. It sucked. And so from a very young age, I hated being poor. I hated that life of poverty, fear, lack, not enoughness. That's what I grew up with. But I saw that right down the street, there's great wealth and abundance. So literally from the time I was a little kid, I said, how the heck do I get from here to there? Now, of course, there was, no one to help me back then. There was no internet or things like that, everything we have today. So I did the only thing I could think of to do, which is I went to the library and I read every book in the self-help section. I just went to the self-help section in the library. I read every book, all the classics, Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Stephen Covey. And I just immersed myself in the traditional success literature. And I really, really tried to make it work. But as hard as I tried, as hard as I worked, I just couldn't seem to get it to work. So At the age of 25, I'd been studying this, been doing a lot of things, but nothing was working. I was so depressed and frustrated that at the age of 25, I decided to take my own life. I decided to commit suicide at age 25.
No way.
At the very last moment, my life was spared. And I didn't know why at the time, but I realized I've got to find, what am I doing here on this planet? Why am I here? And so I didn't know how to answer that question. So I went back to the library, and this time I went to the spiritual section. I read every book in the spiritual section, all the classics of, and modern thinkers of spirituality. So fast forward 5 years later in 1997, over 26 years ago now, that's when I realized why I'm here on this planet. I actually had these epiphanies, and I realized exactly what was missing in all those books that I'd spent all that time reading. And I knew that there were millions of people just like me who were frustrated, who've been trying things, working real hard, but they just weren't working. So I decided, because I couldn't find it anywhere else, I had to write my book. And so I wrote my very first book. It was called Permission to Succeed. It was published by the Chicken Soup for the Soul publishers in 1999. And now, as you mentioned, 24 books later, my books are in 18 languages. You can see some of them back here. And we've helped our clients literally add over $3 billion collectively over the last 25 plus years, meaning helping business owners and entrepreneurs to add multiple 6, 7, and even 8 figures while also working less. So that's really how it started. And that's, why my strategies are so effective, because they really fill in the missing pieces that were left by all those traditional success teachers.
And you know what? Thank you for sharing that, because, we all see those mindset. Oh, if you just dream about it, put it out there, talk to the universe, but they always forget the action piece. But then even with action, there's always that missing gap. So I would love to know, you've got me hanging on the edge of my seat to know, what is that missing gap?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I realized, and that was one of the epiphanies that I had, is that highly successful people, what I call the naturals or the 1%ers, are doing things unconsciously that they don't even know they're doing. And therefore, they can never teach it. Because, see, when we humans want to go master a new habit or a new task or something, we go through 4 stages of competency. Now, the first stage is unconscious incompetence. That means you don't know, you don't know. The second stage is conscious incompetence. That means you don't know. The third stage is conscious competence, which is you know. And then the final stage is unconscious competence, which is you do without thinking. So, you mentioned that I'm, of course, an author and a coach, but I'm also a keynote speaker. I get to do keynote presentations for companies, teams, organizations all around the world, whether live or virtually. So one of the things that I do when I'm doing my keynote presentations is I'll, use this example, and I say it's like driving a car. And I say, how many people here can drive a car? Of course, most people raise their hand. I say, did you realize that you actually went through those 4 stages of competency to learn how to drive a car? First stage is you didn't know how to drive a car, right? Nobody comes out of the womb and says, hey, where's my car, right? It's like, you don't even know. And then the second stage is you realize, wait a minute, I want to get away from my parents, and all I have is a bicycle. I can't get far enough away from my parents. Wait a minute, I got to drive a car. Oh, shoot, I don't know how to drive a car, right? So now I know I don't know. Then the third stage is you learn how to drive a car, take driver's ed. And if you can remember back then, for most of us adults, it was a while ago. And
Quite a while.
Yeah, exactly. But you can remember, at least I can remember, back when I did it, we were in like a Buick that was like, a city block long. It was one of those huge monster things. And it was really hard. It's like, your brain, if we would have scanned your brain back then, your brain would have been just going like nuts with all this new information going at it. Because it's like, it's trying to do something it's never done. But now, of course, today, for most of the folks listening to the program and most of my audience members, of course, you're driving a car and you're literally not thinking about it. You're thinking of 27 other things, but you're not thinking about this thing that used to be really hard for you. Well, what I realized 26 years ago is it's exactly that way with success. So for the highly successful people that I call the naturals of success, what I realize, and this is one of the things that makes my coaching different, is that the highly successful people have become and are unconsciously competent at allowing themselves to succeed. And that's why the title of my first book, as I mentioned, it was called Permission to Succeed, because what I realize is we don't need any more how-tos of success. What millions of us need is we actually need to understand how to give ourselves permission to succeed.
Love
And
it.
that is, in fact, the missing piece that has, for thousands of my clients over the last 25 plus years. I'll give you a quick example of this. We have a program called the 12-week breakthrough, the 12-week breakthrough, where I help people make more in 12 weeks than they did in the previous 12 months while actually winning their lives back. And so I had one client who worked with me in the 12-week breakthrough, and her name's Tamisa. She's a business owner in Arizona. And she's a self-described seminar junkie. That's her term. She's going to all these seminars, right? And
Me too.
Exactly,
Me
right?
too.
Lots of people have that, going around all these seminars. Now, she was making six figures in her business. She was doing well, but she just couldn't break through that income ceiling. As many seminars as she was going to, all the gurus, and she paid all this money and all this stuff. She was doing well, but couldn't break through that income ceiling. So she joined my 12-week breakthrough. In 2 weeks, she tripled her investment in the first 2 weeks. We hadn't even gotten to the money part yet. And it's like, and what was funny about that and really nice is I basically cured her of her, seminar addiction, if you want to put it that way. So she doesn't have to run around all these seminars anymore. I'm not putting down seminars. I love seminars. But the point is that if you're going to all these seminars and you're not breaking through that income ceiling, then what's the point? So going, looking at that hockey stick growth, that's just one example of what can happen when you install these power habits.
Exactly. And it's so funny. You're going to these seminars because you're looking for that gap.
Right.
You're looking for that little piece that you said was missing in it when it's actually, it sounds like it's in us already. And we just have to give ourselves that permission to be able to move to the next level and know that we've already got a lot of the skills and tool sets embedded in us because we're already doing it and successful. And we're just getting it. So okay. I'm feeling like that's great to know that, but I feel kind of stuck. I feel kind of like, wait a minute, it's there, but I can't quite reach it. So how do we get unstuck?
Well, that is what I developed 25 plus years ago, which is the power habit system. So I'll show you. So like I have, as I mentioned, I've written 24 books. I won't hold them all up for you, but this is—
Please don't, because I can't see them all.
It's a lot. But anyway, in this book, Power Habits, and this isn't even the book we're talking about today, but anyway, so this is the system. See, this is what I created 25 years ago. And it's, it's in this, and this is what I teach people. It is, in fact, the unconscious habits of highly successful people. Now, here's what makes this different. Now, I'm sure, most of the people watching this program—
This is totally different, first of all. First of all, you're killing me because it's totally different from what I've heard over and over and over again.
That. So I appreciate you listening and getting it. But so, probably everybody listening to this program has read books like, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. Now, these are seminal works. These are great books, right? Millions and millions of people have read them. But here's the problem. Let's just take Think and Grow Rich as an example. So Think and Grow Rich was written about a century ago. Napoleon Hill's, he basically sat down with all these guys and said, hey, man, how'd you become successful? Well, I did this, this, and this. Okay, put it in the book. Boom. All right, so you do this, and this, become successful. How come millions of people have read that book and they're not all successful? Here's why. Here's why. Well, this is what I've been teaching for 25 years. So and this was my aha moment. I realized that what they're teaching in books like that are the conscious habits. All right. In other words, go out and do this and then do this and then do this. It's not wrong, right? It's like what all the gurus say. The gurus say, well, the secret to success is you got to believe in yourself. Okay. Well, before I discovered this, I'd be sitting in the back of the room at those seminars and they would say something.
Believing in myself.
And I go, but I don't believe in myself. What am I supposed to do? Right. It's like, and they never tell you how to believe in yourself. So what I realized is, wait a minute, there's a system for that too, that they never told us. Right. So that's just an example of stuff. So let me put it this way. Here's what the gurus do. So I want you to imagine you're driving in your car one day and you're going to an unfamiliar place, right? You're going to a new place that you've never been before. And, all of a sudden you're looking around like, man, I don't recognize this. And I don't even know where I am right now. And I'm kind of lost. And you look at your phone, you're like, oh, shoot, I don't even have a signal. And my GPS isn't working right now. No. And so you're like, shoot, I'm lost. And so you realize I need some help here. So you see someone on the side of the road, you pull over and you roll down your window. You say, excuse me, can you tell me where I am? And they go, yeah, you're in a car. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, you're not wrong, but you didn't help me. See, so that's what the gurus do. They do stuff like that. They didn't say anything that's wrong. Believe in yourself. Well, okay, but what if I don't? So that's one example of, what I did because I didn't believe in myself and they never told you how to. So I realized, wait a minute, I got to figure this out and put it in a system. And that's why I like Tamisa, as an example. By the way, just as another quick example. I was working with another one of my clients in the 12-week breakthrough. Her name's Catherine. She's a business owner in Pennsylvania. Now, she came to me and she was in a very dark place. Now, that's her words, not mine. She was in a very dark place. And, she tried lots of things, of course. And she's actually a real estate investor, real estate, that's her profession. And, she was again stuck in her business, hitting that income ceiling. She sent me an email in week five of the 12-week program. And she said, Noah, I just raised $185,000 in private money in one day today because of what you taught me. And she said, I finally believe in myself for the very first time because of what you taught me. I'm like, wow. I mean, that brought tears to my eyes. I'm like, 185,000 in one day? Talk about getting an ROI.
Right. Okay. Wow. So we look at these ideas and we know that there's these systems that we have to go through. And there's this huge gap that, seminar junkie me continues to go looking for that gap to be filled. When we're doing this, though, I know that there are pieces that we can do to get forward, right? When we look at these, can you share some of the examples that we might go through when we're trying to find out that gap, when we're trying to get that piece? I know get into your program, you'll get the full thing, but I mean, what would entice someone to say that I believe I can do your program, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. So technically the book we were supposed to talk about today is called this book here, The Seven-Figure Expert. Okay, so the reason that I'm holding this book up, by the way, it's if you go to sevenfigureexpertbook.com, the book is free. We just ask you to cover the shipping. So sevenfigureexpertbook.com. All right, so in this book, what I did is I actually gave it to you, and you can see in all of my books, by the way, I have lots of, you see diagrams and things like that, because the human mind works in pictures. So I love to give lots of pictures. And so basically this right here is my 7-figure expert formula. So see, everything that I do is about systems and formulas. And the reason for that is I would rather brag about my client's success than my success. And why is that true? Because when you look at the gurus out there, what they're doing is what I call personality-driven success. And personality-driven success is exactly what it sounds like. It's driven by their personality. Well, that's great for them. But my question is always, well, what about me? What if I don't have that personality? And guess what? 99% of us don't have that personality. So that's why what I do that's different is system-driven success. It's system-driven versus personality-driven. Okay. I'm not saying they're wrong or bad guys. I'm just saying, what if you don't have that personality? What am I supposed to do? I can't copy it. But when it's a system, that means anybody can do it. So the 7-figure expert formula that I give you in this book, it really comes down to 5 phases, 5 distinct phases. And that goes down or comes down to 7-figure beliefs, 7-figure habits, 7-figure offers, 7-figure funnels, and 7-figure traffic.
Oh.
Okay. Now, of course, we don't have enough time to go through all of those.
But you're speaking my language when you talk like that. I'm thinking it was all woo-woo, and I had to go into something and meditate for a while to get into the subconscious because you're telling me that, I can, everything that can be trained, but I have to be able to do it subconsciously. And so I'm thinking, okay, where's the woo-woo, right? And you're not giving me woo-woo. You're giving me systems that I can walk and talk and step and do.
Yes.
Yay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, that's what I've been doing for 25 years. So I can even make it even simpler. All right. Because my job is to get things as simple as possible, but no simpler. And here's what I mean by that. Many years ago, Oliver Wendell Holmes had a great quote. He said, I would not give a fig for simplicity on the near side of complexity, but I would give my life for simplicity on the far side of complexity. Now, I love that quote. And because what that quote says to me is that when it's simple on the near side of complexity, that means it's just simplistic. Like I was saying, believe in yourself. No kidding, right? Set your goals. Really? Sure. I didn't know that, right? Really? You know what I mean? Basically, everything on social media, if you think about social media, it's always simple on the near side of complexity. I mean, it doesn't do anything, right? It doesn't help me at all. But simple on the far side of complexity, it's like E equals MC squared. That's the most famous formula in the history of man. Why? Because it basically explains everything, right? And you can't get any simpler than that. Well, that's what I like to do. I'm not trying to compare myself to Einstein. I'm just saying that's my goal here. Okay. So when you boil it down, it becomes very simple when you look at 2 things. And that is what has helped my clients to, add multiple 6 and 7 and 8 figures in record time. And that is inner game and outer game. Inner game and outer game. When we look at any human endeavor, it always comes down to the inner component, the outer component. Now, we like to say inner game, outer game. So inner game is everything that happens between your ears that you can't see directly, but it affects everything that you do. For example, in my keynote speeches, for example, I will say like to my audience members, what's one area of your life where your beliefs don't affect you? And people will go, and I go, exactly. There's no place your beliefs don't affect you, right? It's affect your health, your wealth, your relationships, your business, your career, everything. There's no place your beliefs don't affect you, but you can't see a belief. You can only see the effects of a belief. And that's why you can be doing really well in one area of your life, but maybe you're stuck or struggling in another area. For example, maybe, your health is really good, but you're not making the money you want, or vice versa. You're not making a lot of money, but your health, your relationships, there's a lot of miserable millionaires out there, right? So that's, of course, we don't want that. So what's the good of money if we don't have happiness, fulfillment, et cetera? So that's your inner game, but then we also have your outer game, and that's all the stuff you can see. That's the offers, funnels, and traffic I was just talking about. Now, let me give you a quick example of this. I was speaking at an event in Los Angeles for about 1,000 business owners, entrepreneurs. These were 7, 8-figure CEOs and businesses, high-powered people, right? So I was teaching basically everything I'm saying today. And I just finished my presentation. I was walking off the stage. A man came up to me from the audience and he said, Noah, I want to hire you as my coach. You are the coach that I've been looking for. Now, I didn't know this man from Adam. Ironically, his name was Adam.
No way.
True story. And so I said, okay, what's going on? And so he told me the story. And he said that his company, he's a CEO, he was making 7 figures a year, right? So doing well. But here's the thing. He'd been stuck at that level for 4 years. And they couldn't break through that income ceiling. So just as a parenthetical, you could be stuck at 6 figures, 7 figures. It doesn't matter.
Stuck is stuck.
Well, yeah, stuck is stuck. Exactly. And so the point is, he'd spent all this money. He'd been all the gurus, all the marketing guys. He named all the names that we've heard a million times. I said, I spent all this money, but he said, as soon as you spoke, Noah, I knew in my gut that you're the coach I've been looking for. So he really hired me on the spot. That's why I love working with high achievers, right? They make decisions quickly and firmly. They don't mess around. So I coached him one-on-one for 18 months. In that 18 months, we were able to get his company from being stuck at the previous level for the previous 4 years to over 20 million in sales in less than 18 months, a 600% increase. And you can see his video. You can watch Adam's video and everybody else I'm talking about on my website. I mean, these are real people, real stories, and that's what's great. That's what shows you that it's system-driven, not personality-driven.
Interesting. So,
by the way, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I forgot to put the bow on the story. The bow on the story is 90% of what we talked about, 95% was inner game. That's what I was talking about a moment ago. So people say, well, how'd you do it? And I said, because it's inner game, right? He'd spent all this money on the outer game, still hitting that ceiling. As soon as I showed him and, gave him the formula to master his inner game, boom, 600% hockey stick growth.
That's amazing. Yeah, you have to drop that piece. That is a huge bow on the outside of a car size bow. So that's amazing. But it's interesting because it sounds like the systems and processes and funnels and sales, pieces that you do and everything that you build out on the outer game to where you can drive the car unconsciously. Because, we've all done that. We've all been thinking about something and we end up at the location that we thought we were going to without even thinking about it because it was so habitful that it sounds like once you can get the outer game into that habit, it becomes an inner game. And then it's the switch and the tweaking that you do on the inner game. Am I correct or am I way far off?
No, that's exactly right. So the point is that because the gurus are unconscious at allowing themselves to succeed, number one, they've never held themselves back. And therefore, number two, how could someone who's never done something teach you how to do something?
True.
Right? They could never teach you. It's like saying, because when I wrote Permission to Succeed 25 years ago, and, there's some people that look at that and they go, what do you mean permission to succeed? I'm already successful. And I go, well, great. You don't need this. Whereas other people go, oh my God, you're right. I'm the person that's holding myself back from success. I'm like, right? Why do you think I wrote all these books? I wrote them for me, because nobody else wrote them. So I had to write them for myself. And then of course, other people too. But that's the point is, I was the master of holding myself back from success. Not that I wanted to. Nobody wants to do this.
Nobody wants to do that. Yeah.
No, nobody gets up in the morning and says, wow, this looks like a great day. You know what? I think I'm going to hold myself back from success today. Of course not. Why? Because that would be a conscious thought, right? So what we're dealing with, yes, we are dealing with the subconscious, but because my system allows you to get your subconscious belief to the conscious mind, then you can make a choice about it. And then that's when you can let it go. And, like I've shared many examples with you already. And I mean, there's hundreds, thousands more, but that's the point is now it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize, number one, why I was holding myself back. And of course, no one told me how to stop stopping myself from success until Noah. In fact, it's funny. One of my very first coaching clients many years ago, because I helped him double his income and double his time off in 12 weeks, double his income and double his time off in 12 weeks. He said, Noah, do you realize that your coaching is the only coaching that fixes every other coaching? Yeah, I guess perfect. You're right. It does, doesn't it? And I'm glad he said it, not me. It came from one of my clients. So that was pretty neat.
That's perfect. It really, as a coach, I mean, I can see that there's always times that I'm working with clients and I ask them to do an activity, right? Mm-hmm. That I know is going to improve the direction that they want to go. And mm-hmm. so I'll say, okay, do X, Y, and Z. And here's the step for it. And they can't do it. They're blocking mm-hmm. through it. They can't get through, all these things. And then they come back to me the next week and it's not done. And I'm like, okay, so how can I help you do this? Let's try this together, right? And then sometimes it even comes back to the point where I'm like taking their rough information and I come back and I do it for them and show them what they were supposed to do. And they're like, oh, that's great. But I can never get them to mm-hmm. some clients. I can never get them to do it themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's that missing link. It is that yeah. you would help and complement what all the other coaches are doing as well. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're going to knock me out of the park, but you're going to allow my efforts and ideas and concepts and strategies to be, on steroids exponentially.
That's
because
right.
Then you can get that client to move forward.
Yes. Yes. It is complementary. It's a complementary system. And yeah, I mean, that's what I identified, many years ago because I needed it. I mean, that's why I shared my story. We all need
it. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Most people, 99%. The 1%ers, they're fine. They're like, what are you talking about, man? I'm like, yeah, get out of here.
Well, I follow the 1%ers and mm-hmm. I'm in a 1% group and mm-hmm. I'm on the outside achieving to be the 1%er. I'm not the 1%er yet. Mm-hmm. But I know that, there are those gaps and differences and it's all between my ears mm-hmm. that's stopping me. So.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll give you another example. I was talking with another one of my clients. His name's Charles. And I said, Charles, how much do you think it's going to cost you if we don't fix this problem? Because
exactly.
And I mean, because this really what I fix is the problem that's causing all your other problems. And it's like the domino effect. And because he'd read my books, he read Power Habits and he understood my philosophy, right? And how it's different. And he said, it's going to cost me $1 million. If I don't fix this, no, it's going to cost me $1 million. And I said,
lost opportunity.
I hear this all the time. And I said, just give me 10% of that million. I'll find you $1 million in the next 12 months. He said, okay, let's do it. So he paid me $100K to coach him for a year, one-on-one. And as it turns out, I didn't find him $1 million in the next 12 months. Instead, I found him $1.8 million in just 10 months.
Wow.
Not only that, he sent me an email recently. He said, guess where I am now? I'm on a 7-week vacation with my wife. We just bought a new RV with all this money we've got. And so we're taking 7 weeks off. So he said, now, not only do I have more money than ever before, but now I have more time than ever before. And that's what I was talking about earlier is that, yes, of course we want to have more money, but isn't it true? We also want to have our life.
You know what? And that's a really important distinction for when entrepreneurs leave the corporate life or start their business. They want the lifestyle, right? They mm-hmm. want the money, they want the time freedoms, they want mm-hmm. everything that they desire for. But then what happens is they come in and become, an employee of the worst job, right. Job, right?
That's right.
They've got the worst boss, mm-hmm. themselves. They're mm-hmm. the worst employee themselves, working for, sometimes even less than minimum wage because they're working, every single minute into their company, investing back into their companies. So they never get that freedom and that financial lifestyle that they want because they figure if I just work harder, if I just make one more call, right. if I just do this one more time, go to another seminar, do that, I'll be successful. I'll get there. And they never do.
Well, exactly. And, that's what the hustle bros teach. The hustle bros are
Yep.
out there. We see them
Yep.
every day on
Oh my
social
God,
media.
I can't stand them. Yep.
I know, and it's so stupid, but so many people have been hypnotized and brainwashed by these guys, and it's terrible. And so I'm absolutely the opposite of the hustle bro. Now, listen, I'm not against hard work. I mean, I was raised to work hard.
You
And
need
focus.
actions. You
Exactly.
can't just dream about it and it happens. You need to take action.
That's right. But if you don't have the systems in place, then you're forced to work, 14, 18 hours a day, but you can be working hard and still not making any money. So hard work is, in a sense, irrelevant. So I would rather see you put these systems in place so that you have the systems working hard for you so you don't have to work so hard.
Got it. Love it. Well, one more question for you, and you can deflect it if you like, but you've written 24 books. Mm-hmm. You've put a whole lot of information out there. And, because I'm the info junkie, if I go and I buy all your books and I start reading them, am I going to be able to succeed, or do I need to be in your program to be able to flip the switch?
Well, listen, there are 3 levels of service that we provide. We have done for you, done with you, and do it yourself. So, my books are very simply, they're do it yourself. If you can take, one of my books and go out and, make millions, then I will be here in, applauding harder than anybody. I'll say, go for it. But there's people, like Charles, like Catherine, like Tamisa, people I've told you about, Adam, they want my help. And so that's the done with you. So whether it's one-on-one or group coaching, you can go to, our website and just learn more about the different programs that we have. And then of course we have the done for you, which is where we build your funnel for you. In fact, we also have a book done for you service, because people ask me all the time, how'd you write all these books?
Right.
And I want to write a book. Can you help me write a book? So, I started because I just had people begging me, and insisting. And so we have a book done for you service. So like right now, for example, one of our clients is a stem cell doctor in Nashville. And he came to me and he said, Noah, I've been wanting to write a book for 10 years, but I don't even know where to start. I don't know how to do it. So he hired me. We got his book done for him in 8 weeks. So after 10 years, 8 weeks, and it's done, because I have a system for that too, of course. So, it really, whatever works for the person, we have it available.
Wow. Love it. Love it. Okay. So there are options for those that want to get started, find the information, those that need a little bit more help, because, I personally know I can give you the exact 100-step or 10-step process, say, go do it, and you'll miss one. And so that's where coaching comes in and becomes helpful and fantastic. So love it. Love the options. And Noah, this has been really, really mind-opening for me to know that I'm not doing it wrong. I was just missing that gap that wasn't apparent right up at the front. So where can listeners find out more about you? I know that you've given us some great ideas. I know you've got some great stuff more to share. So where can listeners find out that?
Absolutely. So if you want to start here with the 7-Figure Expert book, so it's very easy to remember, 7figureexpertbook.com. There you go. 7-Figure Expert Book, the number 7, 7figureexpertbook.com. The book is free. So because you're listening to this program, I've covered the cost of the book. We just ask you to cover the shipping. We ship anywhere on planet Earth. So 7figureexpertbook.com. And if you want to learn more about my coaching, the done with you or done for you, just go to breakthroughwithnoah.com. Easy to remember. Breakthroughwithnoah.com. They call me the breakthrough coach because I help people get breakthroughs big time. So breakthroughwithnoah.com. You can watch an 11-minute video where I give you a really nice overview of, what I do and what makes it different. And you see, the different case studies, testimonials, some of the people I already talked about today. And then, of course, you can book a breakthrough consultation there with me or one of my coaches at breakthroughwithnoah.com.
Easy, super easy. Well done on the URLs to make it even easier for us to do that.
Yep.
All right, listeners, I hope you have found a couple ideas to put into your business that will help you be more profitable. I know that that's the missing piece that we've all been looking for. Business shouldn't be hard. It should be easy. You're the expert in your business. So how do you get the systems and processes to make it easier? And I think Noah's that gap that you need to know about and bring into your business so you can take that to the next level. Because if you're not growing, your business is dying. So we need to have you growing in the right way. So thanks to Dr. Noah here. So, all right. As I mentioned, how would you like to boost your net profitability by 45% in just 30 days? Hey, don't think it's possible. It is totally possible. Go check out my new training called the 30-Day Profit Booster. Remember, this is a quick and easy profit boosting strategy that can be done without spending more money on marketing, hiring additional staff, or working longer hours. Go get more information at www.30dayprofitbooster.com. And Dr. Noah and I would love to hear your questions, comments. Put it into the chat. Tell us what your big aha was and what you thought, what you're going to put into your challenge. Tell us what book you've read from Dr. Noah and how you're implementing that into your business. And we'll both respond in the chat. So go ahead and tell us there. And while you're at it, please subscribe. You don't want to miss future podcasts. And as always, you can catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. We're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thank you so much, Noah.
You're welcome. Bye.